What is going on, everybody? This is episode 143 of Pop Culture Crisis. I almost typed in 134 earlier because apparently I'm... Is there a name for number dyslexic? I have no idea. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
What's up, crisis actors? It's Mary.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
Are you freezing? Cold?
Yeah.
We have a studio that's like always
it's a
either
little chilly though.
if you're under the lights, it's or outside of the studio part, like where we're actually sitting here, it's like really hot. But then if you're under here, right under the fan, it's gets freezing cold. So, but it's better than the 90 degrees we have outside.
That's showbiz, baby.
Exactly. And we've got a pair of guest hosts today. To my right, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. And it's dyscalculia. That's the numbers version of dyslexia.
There actually is. Oh, I feel so much better.
I think that's how you pronounce it. But
okay, perfect.
That's you.
That's me.
Yeah.
And that's my guest host to my left.
Hello, everyone. Dane Fawn here, marketing man extraordinaire and the patron saint of White Boy Summer.
oh yeah, we're back to this, aren't we?
Oh yes.
Baby girl, we've never stopped.
That was the last time we were on an episode together. It was episode 100. Dane and I were here, and I learned all about White Boy Summer. Which
You saw the birth of it, but it's just been going on from here.
It is evolved
Sorry.
since it is evolved. It's Mary's getting
Cracking open a cold one.
Not by that she does not mean beer. Yes, nitro brew. Perfect.
Sponsored, by the way.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be nice.
I don't know if I think we might be a little bit too spicy for
Yeah, I don't know.
for Starbucks.
I don't think so.
You don't think we could do that?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. We'll have to check back sometime. Maybe if you ever see a sponsor from them, then I'll know that we've officially made it. That'd be fantastic. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Amber Heard and her magic notes that no, that's mean. She's got therapist notes that claims prove that she was hurt by Johnny Depp, which is very sad. We've got Dane wants to talk about Final Fantasy VII, and by that I mean Dane really wants to talk about. See, look at his face right now. He really wants to talk about the Final Fantasy VII remake.
We did it, guys.
That is coming out. Look at Mary.
All three of us. We did
I
it.
love that you love that.
Yeah.
3? There are 3 of you?
In chat.
I thought it was just you solo.
I
That's
mean,
how powerful you are as a marketing manager. You willed this into happening.
That's yeah. I mean, it took a little bit of blackmail, took a little bit of violence, but we're here.
We figured it out. So we got that. We've also got, what else are we talking about? We are going to talk about Ezra Miller, and we're going to read pretty much the whole article because it just gets...
It never ends.
It never ends.
There's no filler in that article. It's just mind-blowing fact after mind-blowing fact.
And the funny thing is, it's getting to this point now where, right before we go live, I refresh a search
Anything
thing for
could
him.
happen.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Yeah,
I'm literally searching. I'm
Constantly evolving.
and the funny thing is, I found something.
You
kind
did?
of. It's not recent, but it's like something that comes out from something in his past that I had never read before. So we'll get to that.
see.
So it's it makes me feel so ghoulish to have to keep talking about this, but it is absolutely ridiculous. We
It's just
got
another casual Friday where we talk about how terrible everything is.
It's but we do it
With
love.
friends.
Sometimes people ask me, they'll be like, because I work...
Thank
Whoa!
you.
Okay, wow.
Sometimes people ask me, because they know I read the news all day for a living. They'll be like, "Any good news today?" And I'll be like, "No, please don't ask again."
It doesn't get good. It just gets depressing.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's just weird, but it's not necessarily good. It's just sort of like, what a strange headline this is. But
Yeah.
it's not positive.
We're working on it. We're going to stay positive while talking about negative stuff. We got Podluck in there as well. We got a bunch of stuff. So if you three as a collective are ready.
I answer for them. We're ready.
We are ready. Okay, we will get right
Things
into
have
it.
changed since the last time I was on. Mary is now the authoritarian voice.
She is.
We all knew this would happen.
Yeah, it's
okay.
only been a matter of time.
It is here. So, all right. So this says Amber Heard reveals years of therapy notes alleging that it proves Johnny Depp abuse. Whether you believe this or not, I mean, I don't know what it's supposed to prove. It is definitely still hearsay. But it says Amber Heard is not letting up on attempting to prove her innocence against ex-husband Johnny Depp. Ahead of the explosive interview with Savannah Guthrie airing Friday on Dateline, a 20-minute preview clip on Peacock reveals that Heard gave the NBC show numerous documents from a doctor that represented years and years of real-time explanations of what was going on, she said. There's a binder worth of years of notes dating back to 2011 from the very beginning of my relationship that were taken from my doctor. I was reporting from the doctor that I was reporting my abuse to, Heard added in the clip. The documents, which are shown on screen, detail one 2012 instance which Depp allegedly hit her, threw her against a wall, and threatened to kill her. That's not very...
That's not polite.
That is not polite. It says, this is according to Dateline. It says 8 months after that, Depp allegedly ripped her nightgown, threw her on the bed, and according to the program in 2013, he reportedly threw her against a wall and threatened to, kill her. What else am I supposed to say? Minecraft her? I don't know what you're supposed to say in this
They
context.
probably should have, yeah.
In a video game.
Too late. We have as long as we leave the R word out of this, I won't make any mistakes with that. I've been doing better with that. So, it says Amber Heard's legal team was unable to admit the documents into evidence in the highly publicized trial due to hearsay. Meanwhile, in response to Heard's interview with NBC, a spokesperson for Depp's team indicated to Dateline that the actor simply wants to move forward after he won the case. I'm just picturing him running away like Jack Sparrow, with his a bag of money coming out of his back. Is that no? Have you seen that's like a new TikTok thing where it's like getting random people to run like Jack Sparrow? Like they're like, hey,
Really?
they go up to like an Amazon driver. They're like, do your best, Jack Sparrow, and he runs through the apartment complex
And
like Jack
the
Sparrow.
Amazon driver's like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be here.
Guys.
I'm assuming that it's set up and it's not an actual Amazon
Yeah.
driver because the walks are always too good.
That's so funny.
I can't wait to drop my take on this.
Go for it.
Okay.
We'll do it.
This
yeah.
is the moment.
Well, everyone, look at me, serious businessman with a lot of money. Okay.
Interesting.
I truly wonder how many of the woes of the world come from people being lied to by therapists just so that they can keep coming back for therapy.
And not only that, but she is lying to her therapist,
Right.
and the therapist has no outside information to confirm or deny what she's saying.
See, I kind of wondered. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I have kind of wondered. So she said, like in the interview, like I told my doctor, the doctor I was reporting my abuse to. Does that mean that she might have another therapist who's been in the background this whole time, who's like, Amber, stop. We talked about this. You can't just say crazy things for attention.
Or the other therapist is her regular therapist.
Yeah, that's
She's got
what I mean.
her abuse
Also,
therapist.
a
and then-
therapist isn't who you report abuse to.
The
You
police are who
report
you report.
abuse to.
Yeah.
No, you can report. I
The
mean, if
police.
you are in therapy and you disclose abuse to a therapist, especially depending on, like in this case, I don't know why they would, but like if you were a teenager and you're saying when I was a kid I was abused, the therapist does have the right to report it to police. In this case, because she's an adult and he's an adult, it doesn't really make sense. But like other than I was preparing someone I eventually wanted to call as a witness.
That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Cynically, I'm like, like they're thinking of it ahead as like it's something that they could use to prove later that they're. And I feel icky for even thinking that that's how they would behave.
It's hard
that she would
not to
behave that
though,
way.
because it seems like so much of this case was sort of strategic for her. I mean,
Yeah.
even like when they're on a stand, the TMZ guy was like, "Oh no, we got a call," and they were like, "Come down, you'll see a bruise on her face." And as she walked, she turned so you could like perfectly see it. Like
Right.
it's
Pauses
hard,
with her
and
Kleenex.
And these
That-
are sorry.
Wait, what is it?
These are the people, like their thing is about pleading to authority. Thus, she just gives her authority, her therapist, all the information she wants to know. Don't have the information that would be inconvenient. And then it's like, well, I'm a perfect little angel, aren't I? And like now, after that, she's like, well, this is verifiable proof to be used in court.
Yeah.
I don't think so, dog.
Mary,
It's a no from Dane.
Yeah, for real.
Dane hits him with a big no. I recently, somebody told me that they thought that therapists, not psychiatrists, are just confessional for secularists because
No, yeah, we were talking about this the other day.
because a therapist cannot prescribe or diagnose. Only a psychiatrist can diagnose, right? I feel like Hannah. I don't know why I'm asking Hannah, but I feel like she would.
So a psychiatrist has a medical license or a psychiatrist has a medical license and can prescribe medication.
Okay.
A therapist, a psychiatrist versus a psychologist.
Yeah.
A psychologist cannot. They can like do talk therapy. They might be able to offer a diagnosis, but they can't like prescribe you anti-anxiety or medication like that.
Okay.
So they function slightly differently. Also, like you can be a counselor who's trained to do like therapy, whereas like psychiatrists often have a more like medical and scientific training, if that makes sense. Both can be useful, and often people will see two in conjunction. So like I wouldn't be surprised if Amber Heard has a psychologist that she sees a counselor, and then she also sees a psychiatrist because she's on medication.
Yeah. Do you believe that? Do you believe that therapists are just confessional for secularists?
Not in all cases, but like most of the time, I would lean towards that conclusion. I mean, because it's a lot less intimidating to confront your problems as something with a label and something that you are like diagnosed with than a spiritual issue that you can address as something with moral weight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've said in the past, I forget what I've said like to you privately versus on the show, but I'll repeat it anyways. Amber Heard, I believe, like I'm very confident, is suffering from mental illness, and she has no moral compass. It's that in conjunction with being mentally unwell.
She literally needs Jesus.
So, yes, I mean, in my opinion. But like, and then if you're only medicalizing the problem, you're absolving yourself of any power you have to change your behavior. So
that seems like a big problem in society right now. Is people are like, well, what did you expect me to do? It's just how I am.
It's like, certainly no one's fault that they're mentally ill.
Yeah.
But you do have agency, and that's something I think a lot of therapists don't help their clients realize. Yeah. Like, especially in this situation, it's hard because the therapist can only go off of what they're told.
Yeah.
And I believe that clients, especially, like,
no one is gonna be like, I'm a piece of S and I did all this and like it's actually my fault.
Almost everyone embellishes a story, even if it's not necessarily negative towards someone else. Is that you will always embellish? You know, it's like there's three sides to every story: your side, their side, and the truth. And the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. You know, most people embellish in little, almost unimportant ways that they feel, for whatever their reason is, given their background and who they are, that they feel makes them look like a better person in that case. Is this something, do you think a lot of it is also just an indulgence in narcissism?
I mean, yeah, totally. I think at least for someone like Amber Heard, you're going to therapy to talk about yourself. Yeah. Like, you're going to therapy to develop your mythology about yourself and your life.
That's actually a funny...
create your narrative.
This is kind of a
mythology. I like that.
A ridiculous example, but there's in the show, in like the original NCIS, the character of DiNozzo, like they would always joke about how every character there hated going to therapy, but he absolutely loved it because he was a narcissist and he just loved to talk about himself. And then in the later seasons, they have it where he's like he's trying to be like all the other he's like all the other police there, where he's like, I don't want to go to therapy. They were trying to do an angle, and it's just nobody buys it because the dude loves to talk about himself so much, and that does feel like a lot of what culture is these days. Is like I did behavioral, like dialectic behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy when I was getting out of rehab, but those have like an end goal in mind. There's like a
at least they're supposed to. They don't always.
Mine had an end goal with someone that actually was rigorously keeping me on schedule and working towards the end of this booklet that you had to complete. And I got a lot out of it, but there was structure there, and there's not a lot of structure to just going to a therapist once a week to talk about yourself, unless you actually do have the motivation, the goal of getting through it and figuring something out.
Yeah, I would say that like not all therapy is the same. There are different theories on how to do it. In court, they said that Amber Heard, like one of the diagnoses that had come up for her was with someone who had met with her was histrionic personality disorder. Yeah. And I think the thing is, if you get diagnosed with depression, right, you'll probably always have a form of depression. You might seek medication. You might be just a stage of life and you come out of it. It might be something that's sort of cyclical for you. With personality disorders, they are just the way you are. So I've heard that narcissists sometimes seek out therapy because they know something's wrong or they've been told to do it, but then going to therapy gives them more skills to be a narcissist. Like, it's not... Yeah, because, like, they're learning how they're supposed to behave. They're able to become more manipulative.
How people interpret them.
Right.
That's terrifying.
That's, like, kind of the crazy thing. Like, you have to, like, if you have personality disorder, like... It's very hard for anyone to see that something is wrong with themselves anyways, but to have a diagnosis where it's like you don't understand, you're histrionic, so your actions or your reactions to things are over the top or sort of emotionally overblown. Yeah. Like, how would you, like, you can teach people to regulate their emotions, but if you're being told that, like, I don't know, it's just much more difficult to regulate. So she could be in therapy for the rest of her life and, like, theoretically have someone who is like, every day we're working on skills that make you a better, more adaptable person. But unless she actually believes in what's going on, it's not really effective.
I think I recall that her own team said that she had PTSD. Yep. And then the Depp team called to the stand diagnosed her with
BPD
borderline
and histrionic personality disorder.
To your point, like what you're saying really vibes with like a theory that I'm developing. Is that like
Is it
Yes,
bussin'?
yes, for the Research Institute. Great.
it's bussin', bro. My theory is like therapists are the new teachers, and what do I mean by that? You know, in the past, like teachers were like, "Oh my God, they're angels, they're saints, they're underpaid." You know, like God bless every single one of them, guys. I'm sure, unless you were homeschooled, I'm thinking you met a teacher. Can I get like how many people had teachers who were basically the equivalent of demons from hell? Me. So it's like
I didn't.
I had
Mary's like, I am
Good
the
for-
rare example of someone
truly
who
good
did
for
it.
you.
But the thing is, you probably had a teacher that you loved that for someone else.
I had
was a
3
demon.
teachers that I love. I still talk to them to this day.
Aw.
I like send them like Christmas messages, birthday messages. Like I still like them to this day. So I understand, like similar to a therapist, you know, if you have a good teacher or a good therapist that's actually there
Thank
to
you.
work some
I
things
got
with
one.
you,
Oh, I dropped it.
like I can see how that's useful. But from what I've can tell, like the people, maybe it's like an indication of the people around me more than the actual profession, but like people are using it to BS their way through life.
Sometimes I think that therapy is like the like people want to go to a place where someone's only focus is to help them, which is cool, but also they are maybe around people who lack the ability to regulate their own emotions, right? So whether it's like they're raised in households that, you know, don't offer emotional support or are, you know, in some way not indulgent of the behavior, because like there's 2 parts of it. Like some people go to therapy because they actually like need help and they need
Yeah, absolutely.
some skills, and some people go to therapy because they feel like, and this could be a justified reason to go, like that they're not being understood by the world around them, and like that is frustrating, right? And I think that like the individualized attention that therapy gives, which could be really positive, is also something that people crave from like family members or
Right.
loved ones. And like in a very disconnected society, having a therapist, like, and I'm not trying to bash therapy, but like
No, me neither. I'm bashing therapists. I bet therapy
I'm not bashing therapy. I'm
Well,
bashing therapists.
for real. Like I don't have anything against
well, it's
education.
like, where are the outcomes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew someone.
Just like with teachers, where are the good outcomes?
Yeah.
The
Right.
outcomes are getting worse.
yeah, I knew someone who was in his late 30s and told me he had been seeing the same therapist since he was 22. So that's like,
A relationship. Like,
yes, that's 16 years,
Yeah, it's a
right? Like, let's say, I can't remember how long.
Wow.
That's a long time. Are you making progress?
Yeah.
How much are you paying per session? Like, this is,
Is he even
that's a
looking?
lot of money.
That's
Is the
what I'm
therapist
saying,
even? Is the
literally
therapist even like looking to you towards an end goal? Like,
Right.
hey, when are you looking to wrap this up
Well,
here?
why
pal?
would they?
Like,
You're
yeah.
you're like a client
Yeah.
who's paying a tab every week. And
Yeah.
to that end, like, is it on you as the individual to say like, okay, this type of therapy is not working to me, so I'm going to look for a different, because there are different methods and there are
Yeah.
different outcomes. If Amber Heard gets something out of therapy, whether it indulges her narcissism or whether it, you know, just gives her someone to talk to because she's lonely or like whatever it is, like she has no reason to move on, but it doesn't make it necessarily like the same kind of effective authority that we maybe think it is. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
And that's what precisely that example is like. That I feel like that's predatory. You know?
Yeah.
Like 15 years with a guy is like, buddy, have we figured anything out? Like,
But also, like-
did you hug your dad yet? Like, what's going on? You know?
Where are the measurements? Where are the? Because I just feel like, I mean, it's like if you were to take a course by antibiotics, right? You would hope to see improvement at some point.
Right.
Or like if you're on a diet, right? Like maybe you have to eat this way. If you're like celiac, you got to be gluten free for the rest of your life. But you would expect when you're on the diet, you start to feel better.
Right.
And maybe it ebbs and flows, right? But like, I just don't understand Amber. But that's why I think like Amber Heard, especially if she is a narcissist, could be just getting something out of it. And what's the therapist's incentive to be like, well, I think we've cured you. Like, no, we
Yeah.
haven't. And there's no reason for the therapist to turn down this client.
And we also have this article here from a juror in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial speaks out, saying the actress's story just didn't add up to them. They said that they felt that her testimony was unrealistic, and that she lied about and they were angry that she lied about the settlement the most.
What Hannah Claire was saying, where it seems like this was very strategic for her, this is what reminded me of that. They said that she would be very visibly upset and then snap back to seeming stone cold.
Yeah,
What
like she was hitting a
that
cue.
seemed, yeah. I don't know if she understands how she comes off to people because she's been on screen, and she just thinks that she has a very distorted view of
Everybody points out
interaction.
Everybody points out my dog stepped on a bee, but to me it was the Kleenex. That was the weirdest one to me.
The
It
pose.
looked really like the pose with the Kleenex with no tears was really
For
weird.
me, it was this recent interview where she was like, the guy who made the whole world believe that he had scissors for fingers.
He's like, I don't think he has scissors for fingers.
Like-
I think you shat on his bed, dude. Like, what the hell? Like,
I don't even understand like what she was getting at, but in her deranged mind, she really thought she made a point there that was like, boom, gotcha, mic drop.
One time he played a character.
It says
I
it
don't
says,
understand.
Heard's testimony wasn't realistic. Her crying, her facial expressions, and how she stared at the jury made them feel very uncomfortable. So maybe they were saying that she was staring at
She
the jury
stared at them.
to like try to like she was like maybe her like jury consultant was like look at the jury and make eye contact so that it can humanize you, and instead she's like
She like can't do it to a
Yeah.
normal.
Does
She
Amber
can't-
Heard
she
just
can't
like,
gauge-
is she like neuroatypical or whatever they
No,
call it?
I think it's the histrionic thing. Like she's so dramatic. She's really intense overreaction. So when someone says like, "Hey, you may want to occasionally like look at the jury, like show them that you're human, make eye contact with someone," she's like, look at me, I am human." Like, sorry, I'm jumping out of this frame, but like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like she can't regulate what is considered like a normal way to behave. I was listening to this podcast that talked about someone who whose mother-in-law had histrionic personality disorder, and she's like, I don't think she knows how to exit a room. She can only storm out of rooms.
actually I don't know how to exit a room. Me and actually we joke about that sometimes.
That must be your disorder.
Must-
then.
I
You
must
always
have it.
storm out of rooms.
No, I don't storm out, but like me and Hannah Claire will be talking, and sometimes I don't know how to end the conversation, so I just leave.
he'll be like at my desk and we'll be chatting, and like he'll just start gliding away. Like we're back on the hockey rink. I'll be bye, Brett.
that happens a lot here.
It
With
wouldn't
a lot of
it
people.
wouldn't be weird if it wasn't for like she's like bye, and I'm like, oh no.
I just want to train you that it's okay to be like, hey, I gotta run, or like, well, this conversation seems dead, or you seem distracted.
I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh well, this conversation.
You don't have
sucks.
to one-on-one Irish exit me. You know, Irish goodbye.
Sounds wrong. I don't know what that is.
I like glanced down at my computer for a second. I look up and he's like moonwalking.
Walking backwards.
They also talk about how like Heard's team blamed like that social media, and like one of the jurors like, yeah, two of us don't even have Facebook or Twitter,
Are
let
they
alone
like
TikTok.
prohibited from consuming information about the trial on social media? And then
Normally.
like, how is that enforced?
Yeah, were they?
Well, typically you are not supposed to consume.
But do they actually pay
Not
attention?
supposed to, but you can.
It's hard. So like back in the day, it was just TV news, right? So
Yeah.
if you're on a jury, it's like, hey man, you're the jury on this trial. Don't go home and listen
That
to the
makes
news
it so
about
easy
it.
to avoid.
Right?
Yep.
And now it's harder. And I'm not sure how they would enforce it in this case. I mean, maybe they would say, like, you have to agree to abstain. Because there are consequences for jury members who, like, accept bribes or, like, who violate, like, the
Yep.
oath they take as a jury. But, like, in this case, you know, I guess they could be arguing that over the years, social media influence, like, it wasn't just the weeks or months surrounding the trial, but, like, the many, but, like, again, the tide kind of turned. It was all in Amber's favor, and then it turned, I felt like, really slowly, and then sort of all at once.
Yep, at
I don't
the
know if
end.
anyone else had that impression. Like,
He
I felt
just
like,
laid the charm on so bad during those trials, like because he was like negotiating with this.
But he
lawyer
looked like
of
a more
hers.
normal like he actually looked like a person with the way he would react to things.
Yeah.
like he looked like a human being.
And
maybe
I
that's just
don't
because
agree.
maybe that's just because he's a good actor.
I don't
Yeah.
agree that his reactions were normal.
Not
I
all the time.
I
more
found it
normal,
off-putting that
relative.
he was like acting all like jolly and like smirking at sometimes. Like,
The ring bothered me. The ring that said truth on it just felt too on the nose.
I love when he's put his glasses on. He was like, "I'm a boomer."
it was just they're both like such strange people, and I
Yes.
don't like either of them.
And they talk about this here. It says he said this is the juror. It says he said at the end of the day that he felt what was truthful was that the couple whose divorce was settled in 2016 were, quote, both abusive to each other, though he didn't believe Depp was physically abusive to her. So
I think that's like the crux of it, because I think we've all said during this whole time, like, they both sound chaotic.
Yep,
they
yeah.
both sound not super healthy. It's just that, like, it was a defamation case, and the allegations surrounded physical abuse, which we don't think occurred.
says, I don't think it makes either of them right or wrong, he said, but to rise to the level of what she was claiming, there wasn't enough or any evidence that really supported what she was saying. He also said that the jury was given no guidance on the amount of money to award. Each juror threw out a number they thought was fair. Depp was ultimately awarded $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages, the latter being reduced to $350,000 per state guidelines. Heard was awarded $2 million in compensatory damages. I do love the idea that even in losing, she won more money than any of us would likely ever make in a lifetime. So that's
I think she should have just had to give him back.
Heard, if you want to borrow $2 million from Space Daddy and give it to me, I will take it. I will take that $2 million.
Daddy commented on this. I just wanted him to get the $7 million that he had to pay her during the divorce settlement.
It would have been
That's
quite
why he wants to
poetic.
buy
Space
Twitter.
Daddy did comment on it.
What did he say?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? What did he say?
I think it was some tepid I support both
of them.
people.
Okay,
nice,
thanks.
nice cop out.
Okay.
Because he has a kid with her now. I know that's
He
just a rumor.
does?
This is my current rumor.
Every
that I'm
time we bring
starting.
this up, you're equally shocked.
He does?
No, okay. Sometime in 2020, between 2020 and 2021, Amber Heard had a baby via surrogate. The dad is unnamed. But who do we think the dad is? Who also had a child via surrogate with another blonde, Grimes, during that time period?
Should we tell
Elon
him, Brett?
Musk.
What?
Grimes
Oh,
is a blonde.
nothing.
No, it's not you. It's Grimes.
Ah, whoa.
Oh, I didn't
I
get
think it's
the
Elon
joke.
Musk. I think Elon Musk fathered Amber Heard's baby, and that was one of the reasons he didn't want to appear. He almost got called as a witness, and he didn't want to appear on stand. And look, Elon, please come on the show and prove me wrong.
Which side was calling him?
Come on,
Was thinking
sure.
about calling him as a witness?
The prosecution, I think.
Oh, okay.
There was 2 super chats in there.
Diz was sent some currency I don't recognize.
Korea. I don't. What is the currency of Korea?
Saying marry
it
me
yen?
from Korea.
That's is it that if he'd add one more e, would it have?
I don't know if it would.
How did he spell it?
I think I need more information than just that you live in Korea before I decide on whether
Marriage.
we're.
It's a good start,
getting
though.
married.
She's
also-
quite a traditional girl.
You also don't understand. You have to send your resume, your bank statement, and a current photo, and 3 letters of recommendation
Cover
to
letter.
Brett.
Yes.
And then he will screen it and present it to Mary if she's interested.
That's yes. I would have to.
Last
you know.
3 pay
it's
stubs,
the Korean
okay?
won.
Last 3 pay
He
stubs.
leaves all the proposals on my desk.
Yes.
I'll get around to it when I
It's
get around
the
to
Korean
it.
won.
Like pile 1 is the topics for the day. Pile 2 is things
suitors.
is Mary suitors, and I'm like, look, at your leisure, please. Please.
Well, and
address
he'll
this.
screen it. It's a nice system they have worked out.
Caper2X said Hannah Claret is simpler. One is a medical doctor and the other is not. Technically, you could put psychiatrists to treat the wounded as the army does in war.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
that's
Yeah,
I
because
feel
they
like
have to go through medical school.
How do you feel?
I think that's exactly what I said.
How do you feel?
Yeah,
How do you feel?
They,
No, I think that's what I said. That they
you
go to medical
explained the
school.
same exact thing. They just wanted you to be more succinct.
No,
guess.
I absolutely refuse.
Yeah.
Super chat again and correct me.
All right,
Nice.
all right. Now, Dane.
I'm
you
so
want to-
excited to hear.
Are you ready to lead this topic, Dane?
Guys, not only am I ready, I got freaking notes.
Okay.
Okay, so keep your
Good,
pants
because
on.
I'm gonna be all over the place.
Keep
on
your
this.
Okay.
pants on. Whoa.
Yup. We're going there. Okay, so nerds in chat, I'm gonna need you to be responsive. I'm gonna need you to be interactive, okay? Because only when you do that is when I can nerd out with you guys, okay? So don't let me
This
down.
is a team effort, guys.
Yes, okay.
I am lost already.
Lovely female coworkers. As I previously stated, you're both gorgeous, so I'm sure you've never heard of any of this. It is fine. You will be fine. We will get through this, okay?
Okay.
Why do I feel like he is like an attorney presenting his opening arguments?
Evidence,
making the case for
I
it.
was trying to think of the terminology. I fucked it up. Oops.
it
My
please-
first. I did it. Woo!
It's okay.
Dane.
10 episodes in. Anyway. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Final Fantasy VII remake being announced. Lots of words. Let me reel this back in. Final Fantasy is the most popular series, like mainline series of games under the role-playing category of video games, okay? Final Fantasy VII was historically like considered like the one that graphically kind of made it seem as if like there were like actual people having conversations and interactions with it. So it was a very like revolutionary game in its time, okay? For other context, the developers of this game are from Japan, okay? And the company's called Square Enix. Now let me give you the plot. It's the most summed up version that I can give. The story follows a mercenary, right? That as an assistance to his former, like, let's say neighbor and like childhood crush, whatever, he essentially joins an ecological terrorist organization, no cap, as the kids would say.
No cap.
Not a lie detected.
Your objective is to take down a large multinational corporation that A, creates fake wars, B, my notes are too low. Fake wars amongst countries, and it's basically insinuated that the war is between the America and China. By the way, this is like 1997. B, stages political tragedies that are not real. 3, takes part in eugenics projects, and 4, is literally trying to destroy the planet by like extracting like resources from it. The main antagonist of the game is a former soldier of this company, because they have multiple divisions. It's a huge company. One is like energy development, and the other one is like basically they sell arms and weapons for people. The main antagonist is essentially an experimented person, like through their eugenics projects, who has basically become aware of his existence and like non-natural birth and like all the experiments that are made upon him. And he starts as a rampage against like the company that made him that way. And he succeeds, and eventually he takes it up with the whole world for like essentially letting him make him like a monster, right? So
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
Please.
Why would you have, if you have a eugenics project, right? You're trying to make super people, right? Or like get
super
the best
soldiers.
What wouldn't you want to not destroy the planet because you're putting in all this effort in anyways?
Well,
wouldn't you do
Dane's like, you're thinking too hard.
He didn't know.
That's Brett.
No,
Brett's regular criticism is I think this too much.
Am I questioning it too much or not enough?
Maybe both.
Like
The
I
point-
want to
really
destroy the
dumb.
planet.
The
Why
point
do you
is
care about
that
who's
the
on
point
it?
is that this is a very famous game, and they're
Yeah.
remaking it because of the popularity of it.
Literally,
Okay.
maybe the most popular game of all time. Like literally,
When
maybe
did
that.
it came out in the 90s?
Like
Yes,
in 96,
90s.
95, something like that.
Very, very, very popular.
Okay.
So why is this relevant? Number one, like it's the remake of like one of the most historic, like famous games of all time. Number one.
Remakes of games are also historically very, very controversial.
Right. And like, here's the reason why it's controversial. So number one, it is not a 1-for-1 remake. So this means the story and the game itself is changing, right?
Which is weird, because then it's just not the same game to me.
Is it based on the original story and it's just
It's highly based on the original story, and like a lot of the team members that made it are currently
and it's
working
the
on
same company that made
Right.
it. Okay.
Hannah Claire's like, I trying to get away from movie remakes, and now I'm getting video game reboots?
I'm just telling you, we're all lacking creativity.
I'm
But
gonna-
continue.
I'm gonna bring this down to like all media soon. So context again, not American company. Number 2, they are actively changing things. Number 3, this game is famous in particular because one of the protagonists of the game, spoilers guys, dies
Thank you.
2/3 of the way in. 2/3 of the way in, a person.
game?
Yes, in the game, a
Is
person
that like
dies.
a level?
Yes, in a level like you get, and like there is like your friend, and she literally gets stabbed to death in your
Okay.
face. So this is, by the way, this sent the world through like a roller coaster of emotions. So much so that the rumor amongst the fans of the game was that she's actually alive. You just have to play the game differently. And it was all a cope. It's all a lie. And a bunch of people tried and tried because they really had emotions for her. The guy that plays Batman now,
Robert Pattinson.
you remember he was talking about a game that he was saying like the first time he felt love?
Yep.
He was talking about this game.
And Zoe Kravitz like crapped on him.
Yeah,
for
and
it.
he got like, oh, male fantasy, whatever.
Meh.
If two people empathize,
what's wrong with it in her mind?
I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Is the answer. But like, so in this game, the girl dies.
Okay.
However, the trailer for part 2. So they gave several announcements. One, the part 2's coming. The second announcement is like they're gonna break the game in 3 parts.
Okay.
And like they're gonna remake it. And the second part is where she should die. However, there's a bunch of things that have changed in the last game that have fans like going through loops. And it starts off with this quote, the trailer. what we've done is set in stone. The past.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nerds, keep it up.
Oh, that one
The
got me.
past is forever, but the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past. Okay. So now with all this context, I have literally a personalized question for everyone here, including myself.
Okay.
Number 1, is this a spoiler? I'll just get down to it. I believe so. I believe that the developers are speaking through like the most iconic member of the team in the game, and they are telling you, hey, I know you love your old thing, and it'll always be there. But the past is written. Look forward to the future. So I think they're saying like, hey, I know you want this, but you're going to get what the hell we're making.
Which to me is annoying because then just make a new game.
Okay.
It is weird to address the fans that way when like what we've seen so far from remakes of games and
It's like
movies,
90%
et cetera, it's all actually showing contempt for fan bases.
No, but this is, remember, that's why I started. This is Japan. It's like 90% accurate to the source material. The people that are making this are pretty much the same team that worked on the original source material.
So wait, you think that the people are hoping that instead of killing that girl off in the second part of this game in the new version, that they'll let her live, and they're like, probably not.
I think there's both sides. And so now I'm going to assign you each your personal question.
Okay.
And you can think about it. But like,
This
as
is the
you're
weirdest
thinking,
book club ever.
I know, as you're thinking about it, I have like an exercise for the group to like bring it more to pop culture.
Okay.
Guys, I got my segment. I'm doing it. Okay. Brett,
Have we been taken over in a hostile yet way?
Brett,
Go for it.
how would you feel if your favorite story of all time was being remade by the same artist in a different way? That's your question. Hannah Claire.
Wait, should he answer first?
No. Think of it. And then we're going to do an exercise that'll like, we'll get the answers. Hannah Claire.
Yeah.
Is this a shallow money grab or is this a genuine artistic endeavor?
Okay.
Mary, do you trust these developers more knowing that they are not American and not related to Hollywood? And now, before we answer that, I'm going to ask everyone here to go on an
Two
exercise.
questions I have to remember.
Think of your favorite show or movie. Can you, like, first thing that comes to mind?
My favorite show or favorite movie?
Yeah.
Go to the next person.
I don't know. Go to Mary.
You can't ask something that on the spot.
Ask someone on the chat. Someone in the chat tells me your favorite movie.
instant reaction. Like, my favorite movie is The Godfather. Instantly. Came
Why
to
did
mind.
I want to say Hannah Montana?
That's
Maybe.
amazing.
Is it? Like, I don't.
I mean, okay, yeah,
Okay. Is your favorite show?
sure.
Hannah Montana. Okay.
For now, I don't know.
I love it.
What's your
Just say
favorite?
that.
I'm
First-
not,
first
I'm
that
not
came to
answering this
mind.
I
question.
don't know. Maybe Call the Midwife. I was really into that for a while, but it got really woke, and I didn't like it as much.
I'm not answering this question.
First thing that came to
not
mind.
answering
What
this
is
question.
one of your favorites for Dane's exercise?
One of your favorites.
Movies?
Yeah, whichever. Or shows.
I can't think of anything.
Top
Oh
Gun
my
Maverick.
goodness.
It's Top Gun
no,
Maverick.
it is not.
It's Top Gun because he was born in the 80s.
Nah.
You loved Top Gun
Okay,
Maverick.
fine. The original Mighty Ducks movie.
Okay, Brett. Okay.
Actually, no. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1.
Why don't we
let's
not
say.
talk about this stuff more?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm literally working as I'm working.
Yeah.
Okay, Brett. Let's say that Teenage Mutant. What's your favorite scene from Teenage
Thank you.
Mutant Ninja Turtles?
The final fight scene between Shredder and the 4 turtles at the very end.
Okay. What if I told you we're gonna make the movie? We're gonna make it again. Same director, same cast, same everybody. That scene's gonna change.
I don't think.
You don't know how. You don't know like if it's. You don't know if they're gonna make it better. You don't know if they're gonna make it worse.
No,
it's gonna
don't
change.
do it. I don't want it done.
But
I don't
nothing
care. I
would-
don't care if it's the same team. Time changes how those people think. I don't want it done.
Yeah, are you remaking these things in the modern era, right?
Your
Like,
first question to me. What was it?
How would you feel if your favorite story of all time was being remade by the same artist in a different way?
I don't want it done because it takes time to produce the new thing. Their lives have changed. Time in history, society has changed. It will not be, even if it's 90% the same, it will be none of it will be the same because it's created in a different time. I don't want it done.
I think we see this with like we all know I'm super anti-remake, but I think we see this with like these long legacy movies, right? Like, is it Harrison Ford who plays that guy?
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. Like, there were several Indiana Jones movies, and if he came back into today, he is a different person, so therefore the character will have changed, even if a lot of the stuff is the same.
Yep.
With all of the like Jurassic World movies, right? First off, I did not realize how many of them there were.
6.
And then
Too many.
for whatever reason, this did not click for me. So like the older cast members who started when they were in the beginning of their career, essentially, right? They're very different and their lives have changed. So therefore the way they portray the characters are not necessarily the same. This is why I think that like there has to be a restricted amount of time for us to use material and content. I don't think that things are meant to be mulled over and chewed for years and years and years. Top Gun Maverick is a weird recent difference because there was like a huge gap in between.
There also, or like Ghostbusters
I don't
Afterlife.
know what this has to do with this video game.
Keep going.
A lot to do with because more context. It was an old video game, and back in the day, there were no voice actors. There was no voice acting.
Yep.
Everything was up here. So that feeling you developed for that character was your best rendition of the character.
Yeah.
Now, you're getting actors acting out a role,
And you're gonna be like, that's not how I imagine that person
Right.
sounded.
Yeah.
but maybe it could be like, wow, that's not how I thought about it.
Yeah.
Right? It could be
Look,
both.
it could be good, but like I don't like to watch the music video for songs that I'm really attached to, right? Because
Right.
I have my own
Interesting.
situation.
Thank
like
you.
I have my own
Thank
connection
you.
to it. I have my
Keep
own
going,
interest
nerds.
in it. Like I imagine with video game people like I remember I used to be really into Sims when I was younger, and like Sims 2 has one animation style, and then I changed it slightly for Sims 3 and Sims 4, and like I don't like it. I only like the way it looks in Sims 2 because that's what I was attached to.
Right.
Like I can imagine for this video game, yeah, it could be cool to revisit all these things and have newer technology, video gaming it up or whatever.
Video gaming it up. Put that on a shirt, please.
But that doesn't. I assume as a if you were really attached to this game, you're attached to it in its entirety as it was at that time.
Correct.
Making it new doesn't necessarily mean you're making it better. You're just making it different, which in some ways is eroding your connection to it originally.
Thus, do you feel this is a shallow money grab, or do you think it's a genuine artistic endeavor?
It's hard for me to say because I have so little context on this, but I will give you this. Like, it's a question of, is this company do they have any other products that are successful? Like, how much money do they make? So
This
they
is
don't
the
need
most-
to do this. So this, like, could be a money grab, but also, like, this could be a walk down nostalgia. They really feel like it would be cool to return, like, get the old gang back together. You said, like, the original people who worked on it are working on it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have enough context to know whether it is or not. But I will say, like, I don't know that it's necessary. If they want to,
People
they
have begged
can.
for it for decades.
Why though? Why would you beg for this?
Because again, this is potentially, literally, the most popular video game in history. You know,
But why do you need it again? Like, that's what I don't
I don't
understand.
like this because it's reflecting
How many
cultural
times-
stagnance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it either.
And I think the reason, or at least part of the reason that we have all of these remakes and sequels and reboots and spin-offs never ending
Come over to my dark side, Mary.
is because when these things were originally made and enjoyed, we had a society that made a little more sense and people felt a little
happier.
safer and more connected and happy. And you
They're,
know,
like,
tell me I
searching
have
for it.
rose tinted glasses. I don't care. But I think that's true, and that we're just trying to return it back to what we consumed back then.
Because
and
they think
it's-
that'll return that feeling
it's not
that they
working.
it's yeah.
I think that this could be the same. It could be remade for the same reason because this is part of so many people's childhoods, and
Things are rough
even
right now.
even when that was released in the late '90s, things were dramatically different, and I do believe they were better.
can I tell you the medium that this game is the most similar to?
Sure.
This game and this series of games is the most similar to a play. Like a theater play.
Really? Because
I
I
don't
would have guessed a
understand.
fantasy novel.
Nope.
What do you mean by that?
In parts, there's soliloquies, there's like monologues, there's like random changes in scenery.
I'm gonna level with you. I have only watched my older brother and older cousins play video games for most of my life, but there are a lot of monologues in video games. There are a lot of like quests with parts. Like, why is this one different?
because
Why is it more similar
Because-
to a play?
because in a lot of video games, usually the story is what gets you between point A and point B to do shooty thing. Like, I do plaything now, and then they gotta explain why you're doing plaything in another place, and that's the story. Here, the game and its mechanics is revolved around the world, the characters, and the mythos they have created, right? Like in this world,
More so than other things?
more so than
Why? How so? Like, why did this game nail it in that way and the other ones haven't achieved it?
like the dialogue is like far more like complex. Like just to give you like an additional example, let me elaborate on the protagonist.
Okay.
The protagonist of this game was a former child soldier. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He has also been like genetically experimented on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He is suffering, unbeknownst to him, from severe post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. Severe. Like he which manifests in the game as if he's having headaches.
Mm-hmm.
But they intensify later as like literal like psychotic breaks. His friend that he is known through childhood that basically got him wrapped out in all this trouble, he's doing it as a promise to her because like when he was leaving off to war, he promised her, she made him promise him, if I'm ever in trouble, come get me. And so he stumbles upon, like, he's basically now in the slums. Like, he's like an ex-soldier with PTSD, got no money, doesn't even know why he's got the clothes on he's got on, right? And he stumbles on his best friend from his childhood, who he made this promise. They're catching up, and she's telling him all the trouble that she's getting into, right? Mm-hmm. And he subconsciously is holding up his end of the promise. It's like, well, you're in some deep doo-doo, so like I'm gonna try to get you out of it. And like what unravels, by the way, it begins that way. The game is like
so you played this game, right? And you liked it?
I've played it, I've beat it, I love it.
So do you want them to make a remake?
Yes.
Why?
Because just to remember, like when I saw it was in 1996, it was a little blocky people. Mm-hmm. You know, and I had to like simulate like
what. Did you use your brain?
But I feel
and I read, and that's how I learned English.
Yeah. Whereas now they're gonna take a lot of that out. Sorry, keep going.
No, it's okay. I just think that that's like better for the imagination than giving people intense, extremely hyper realistic graphics and voice acting.
But you know, now I can show my friends it. And it's in a package that's more marketable, right?
I don't think it's going to resonate with them the way it resonated with
it
you.
Yeah,
won't.
also it'd be like if you saw this game and it lacked certain details, so your brain filled them in and it made it more rich to you because it was your imagination was involved. Like, they're stripping all of that out by making it hyper realistic and adding the voice acting and like
just by adding the voice acting, it's completely changed the ability for them to adapt to it. I do want to point out here that I do think that just the fact that I do believe that the team being involved can be both a true attempt at artistic expression and also a money grab. Mm-hmm. Like I think that the team involved in creating it has the best intentions and will want it to be as it's still a new challenge for them. They're still creating they're working on something new.
Capitalize on nostalgia.
But I still think part of it ends up being both where art meets commerce, it ends up being a little bit of both. There were super chats that are clearly these people are very, very involved in this game. Yeah. So you want to go for it?
Okay. Caper2X said, under the protection of Hannah Claire, pop culture crisis fairy godmother of the written word and bulwark against the princess of darkness, Dane goes into the ancient scrolls. That's very poetic.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Unavailable ID name said Final Fantasy OG saved Square Enix. They named it Final Fantasy because they thought it was the last game they were going to make.
Yeah, let me give you some context. So the company originally was called Squaresoft. The company was, as he said, like getting into bankruptcy. And the developer of like this series, Nobuo, whatever Japanese name he has, my bad. He literally named it the Final Fantasy because he thought it was the last game that they were ever going to create.
Why did it become Square Enix then? What does Enix
because
mean?
the company merged with another video game developer, specifically of the type role playing, right? And so now they've announced the 16th in the mainline entry, and they're also remaking old ones. And I'm sorry, you can keep on with the super chats.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yep.
He also said, one begs to ask, could this have been a new installment in the Final Fantasy universe, because they kind of went downhill after going strictly online?
I would have rather they just made a new installment that was inspired by aspects of the first. Thank you.
Thanks.
Inspired by aspects of the most popular games.
Mm-hmm. Siani Reese said, what? They're not killing, I don't know how to pronounce this, Aerith? Is that the character?
Aerith.
Aerith?
That's the lady that dies.
Okay.
Spoilers.
That's not confirmed, right? That they're changing that storyline.
No one knows.
Okay.
It's a speculation. Yeah.
Hefty Jongle said, wrong question to Brett. The question should be, knowing the person who wrote Time Travel terribly is now at the helm rewriting your favorite game.
Do you still trust it, or whatever the rest of Dane's question was?
I mean,
Hmm.
that's conjecture.
Dizwiz said, I like to see fresh spin of my favorite stories, but I know that Nomura did the KH stories.
Kingdom Hearts. It's
Kingdom
another
Hearts.
video game series that's very like.
I know that one.
Yeah, it's mixed with it's.
Yeah, I've heard of
So
that
Kingdom
one.
Hearts is a mix of Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters.
Waffles Sensei said, I would be okay if you can save Aerith through some kind of Easter egg accomplishment, but why change one of the most controversial and heart-wrenching moments in video game history? It was defining.
I think
Like,
if they change it, it makes it hollow.
Maybe they
That's
will.
what
Maybe they won't.
See, I feel like if they change it, it's like giving into this like indulgence culture that we've created
Like,
for
maybe-
ourselves, where like bad things can't happen to you. Like if it was so heartbreaking to lose this person, like you should keep it that way, because this was like a formidable. I hate to say this, but like a formative moment for like, I assume teens, but lots of people during this time period. Like, just because things are hard doesn't mean that we need to pretend they don't happen, right?
Yep.
It's like if you read, you know, it's like you want to watch some movies that like, you want to watch some movies that have great happy endings and they just feel good, but then you want to watch some that leave you with endings that you feel slightly dissatisfied with, because that's more reflective of real life.
And that's this series, by the way. So like a big theme in the series is like, you will lose things that you love, and you have to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like life goes on.
It will add weight to it if they keep the same ending for that character.
Because ultimately, by the end of the game, they're saving the world from a major calamity brought upon this person that I talked to you about. And she was like not the leader, but like the spiritual leader. Like everyone liked her. She was everyone's friend. She had this like mysticism and like je ne sais quoi about her. But she dies.
Ooh, good use of je ne sais quoi.
Thank you. But she dies. But, you know, the mission lives on. You know, like we're
So
not
then
gonna.
what would the benefit be other than indulging some people who didn't want her to die to change that storyline?
There shouldn't.
Sorry, are we in the middle of super chat? Should
We're
I
in the
not-
middle of super chats.
Okay. Caper2X, I'm not reading
Yeah.
but thanks for the $2.
Thank you, Caper2X.
I did not harvest adrenochrome from Dane.
no.
Oh my God!
No
I
adrenochrome.
deny the allegations.
Oh man, super chat's getting weird.
Bodies X Wix Crypto Smart Money Explained said, as a major fan of Final Fantasy, I need this. Dave and I have chatted about the Final Fantasy series.
Have we?
I'm playing 12 now. There's 12?
Yeah, dude.
What
There's
the f-
16. There's like this is the most.
Why?
Immediately
No,
no.
no,
I'm
wait,
sorry.
wait,
Immediately no.
Why?
Mary, every single number is a different game, different story, different everything.
Okay, I respect that.
It's just like
Okay.
kind of,
it's
but
what
not
you're
really.
saying, like inspired upon other things. They have like this kind of like universe in a way, but like it's different mythologies, different characters, different issues.
So they're only remaking 7.
They've remade others, but like in the way that they're doing this 7, never before.
Okay, he said it's the 7 remake is the best thing ever. Well, you don't know that yet.
I mean, there's a part 1,
There's a part 1. This is the part 2 of it because the game was split
It's
into
been
three
the three
parts.
parts.
Yeah.
right?
I see.
All right. Any last words before we move on, Dane?
I would like to leave everyone with this thought. You know, most of like modern media, modern theater, movies is inspired of Shakespeare. My favorite Shakespeare play is Hamlet. I think there's a lot that can be derived from Hamlet, right? Does Hamlet lose its worth because it got adapted to movie? And like, you know, some versions the character doesn't quite convey Hamlet as he should be? Or is it just a vehicle to get people to read the actual classic? That is what I think may be happening here. And that is what I think that they're saying with the quote that I will end up on the quote again. What we've done is set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past.
Words to
live
be
by.
inspired by.
Thank you,
yes,
Eris.
I agree. All right. So now that we've talked about something so heartwarming at the end there, we're going to go right back into the super depressive.
Ezra
Everything
Miller.
sucks.
Everything sucks. No. Okay. Oh, gosh. This is from the Daily Beast, and it says, 12-year-old granted order of protection against Ezra Miller. This is a different order of protection, ladies and gentlemen, than the one against for Dakota Iron Eyes' family. And yes, this
He has multiple orders of protection
against multiple people.
minors.
One is a minor. One was a minor when he met her. This story is absolutely bonkers. It literally sounds like
Every sentence gets more.
So-
like,
The thing is, I feel like
absurd.
this justifies all the week's Brett has had me talking about this guy.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna skip past the stuff where they revamp the Dakota Iron Eye stuff. You guys know that story if you watch this podcast. He met her when she was 12. He brought her and members of her tribe out to London when she was 14. He tried to share a bed with her, which we found out the other day.
And
The
how
whole-
old was he at the time?
And he
In
was
his
23 when they met when she was 12.
How
Okay.
did they meet when she was 12?
Because she was an activist, her family were activists, and he was doing activist work on the reservation.
Guys,
Okay.
guys, field of red flags. Just
Yep.
everyone read where they met.
Remember when I said it's not enough to just not be an activist. You have to be anti-activist. You have to be actively
Yeah,
anti-activist.
you should have your kids
Slacktivist,
be
too.
activists. They can meet great people like Ezra Miller.
And
So-
Greta Thunberg.
Okay, so here it is. Creator Mia Solange took to Twitter in April to accuse Miller of being an abuser, while the actor was arrested twice in Hawaii for disorderly conduct, harassment, and allegedly throwing a chair at a woman. Remember, we don't know if that was just a certain song at the bar. He just really hates karaoke. We know that. On top of all that, in 2020, a video went viral of Miller attacking a young fan in Iceland. Still with his role. Nothing has ever happened there. In the Massachusetts case, that's the one we're talking about now. Get ready. The Daily Beast reviewed a copy of the protection order signed by a judge that spoke with a 12-year-old accuser, their mother, and another neighbor who was present. The case docket has not been posted on the court's online system, so the official complaint made by the child's mother was not available. The Daily Beast also reviewed contemporaneous text messages sent by the mother and the neighbor, as well as photographs that corroborated parts of the accounts of the night in question. We are withholding the names for privacy reasons. On the evening of February 2nd, the trio contend that Miller was present in the downstairs neighbor's home in Greenfield, which is located about 40 miles away from the actor's ranch in Stamford, Vermont. The neighbor is in a band with Whitney Sutters, a musician who is close friends with Miller. Miller was wearing a bulletproof vest, and I had no idea until later that they were armed, recalls the visiting neighbor. Tensions began brewing when the mother said she mentioned doing some traveling recently with her tribe, those are her words, with her tribe of people, leading Miller to snap at her and accuse her of cultural appropriation. Then a conversation about board games allegedly went sideways. When after Miller claimed that the board game Parcheesi had Rastafarian roots, the visiting neighbor, who is half black, questioned Miller as to which set of Rastafari movement it originated from. At this point, Ezra exploded and started screaming directly in my face. The visiting neighbor tells me, quote, "They said you don't even know what the F you're talking about. What did you say to me? What did you say to me?" I was caught very off guard, the visiting neighbor continues. Then they opened up their jacket. They had this, big Sherpa jacket, and they opened up one side of their jacket, and you could see a gun. And they said, "Talking like this could get you into a really serious situation."
Over Parcheesi.
Over Parcheesi!
After
He's like, hey,
Like,
hey.
you can't say anything.
don't
It speaks for itself.
Did you ever meet
hey.
someone who's like, I have to be right all the time?
Yeah.
Like this to another
No,
level.
This is every time you see one of those gotcha interviews at a college campus when some neocon group goes and they're like, "What does socialism mean?" And they're like, "I don't know." They're like, "What is capitalism?" They don't know how to define it because they've been spoon fed from professors one side of the argument, so they don't actually know how to define their response. He is every person that has ever done that.
Also, where did he get this? The top of a Snapple cap? He was like, oh, Parcheesi is from Rastafarian roots.
Okay,
And
it says,
it's just it shows how unhinged he is. You can tell someone's crazy that they assign immense importance to some random detail of a conversation. They latch onto it like that.
Well, and like
and
it's
then fly
interesting-
off the handle.
It's interesting that like this person, the other person would use tribe. He would be like, cultural appropriation. By the way, here's all the things I know about Rastafarianism.
It gets worse. It
Can't
gets worse.
see how like hypocritical he's being.
Next, according to the visiting neighbor, the mother and the child, Miller focused their attention on the 11-year-old, saying, "I've talked extensively with your child, and they have a lot of power to them. At one point, you're going to realize that you don't have any control over them anymore. They're an elevated being, and they would be lucky to have someone like me guide them."
He literally
Nothing that is ever said
Wow.
like that ends
he
well.
thinks he's some kind of like levitating shaman.
Also, like
Like
someone like me guiding them. Like, do you not have an understanding of like what's appropriate to say about someone's children?
Who's not your family?
Like,
I don't
Or
think
even your
Ezra
family,
Miller
right? Like-
thinks he's even human anymore, because if you mix like being mentally unwell with to this degree with fame and adulation, you literally lose sense of like the fact that you're even human.
Yep.
He's talking to people like he's an alien
Yep.
who just showed up
he
here.
just
those-
got off the ship.
Even
Right.
those messages,
100% has to
That's
be on
not
some
an
drugs.
immigration line. That's a UFO line.
even the messages the other day, the Instagram stories that were like, "I'm in another dimension." Like, he actually believes
I
that.
feel like, yeah.
They say Miller proceeded to turn to the mother, who dressed as goth, and accused her of being a witch and a vampire, repeatedly yelling at her, "Do you want to drink my blood? Do you?" And then Miller...
And this is like he's doing this sober. Like he's just
No,
not-
they accuse him. They think he was that is the one part I think they say like his pupils were dilated
They
and
think
everything
he's
like
like
that.
intoxicated.
So it says Miller then came back to the child and allegedly began pestering them with compliments. At one point, moving their chair closer to them, requesting that they add the actor on Instagram and telling the child to pursue fashion. This only ends badly. They automatically were just weirdly drawn to me and kept talking about how they love my outfit and love my style, and kept going on about how it was great, the child remembers. It was really uncomfortable. I was really nervous. I was scared to be around them after he'd yelled at my mother and she was crying.
But this is the other thing. Like they're at his house. He yells at the mom.
Their
apparently
house, not his
repeatedly.
house.
They're at
The mother's
and
house.
this guy is just hanging out at their house.
The mother is...
Why do they reference the guy's ranch? I thought they were at his ranch.
They're saying they were at their house 40 minutes from where he lived.
Why don't they just ask him to leave?
The mother and visiting neighbor both believe that Miller had been under the influence due to dilated pupils and erratic behavior. His behavior's always erratic. That's the problem. Miller apologized for the outburst, only to return to pester the family on a number of other occasions, including in late April, in May, and on June 4th, dressed as a cowboy. It doesn't feel
It
like
keeps
I feel like
getting
this article
worse.
is fake.
Also, like, why? Sorry, this is just like maybe it doesn't matter, but like late April in May, and then they have a specific date on June 4th because you dress like a cowboy.
I guess.
No, this is like, or was he like dressed like a cowboy
Also, like,
all the time?
He drives to their house, and they're not like, "Don't come back here." Like, what's this family doing?
The mother and child maintain that Miller made the child uncomfortable by hugging them and pressing their body closely against them.
And this is before the last visit, so he came back repeatedly, and we weren't like, Ezra Miller, we have a no you showing up here anymore policy.
It says.
I mean, clearly, just like the Tokata Iron Eyes parents, these parents are not.
they're not.
What's happening?
They're not
Exactly.
doing their job.
Models of.
The child expressed their interest in horses, and Miller said that they would acquire several horses so that the child could help care for them for the herd in Vermont, in his Vermont farm, which also struck them as
Literally get
inappropriate.
in my van.
Struck as this is them in this sentence. It's the child. This is the child being like, this seems inappropriate that this adult man would buy horses so I could hang out at his house.
It's literally somebody needs to Photoshop
Literally
a picture
have
of
some
him
candy, get in my van.
opening a
I
picture
have
of
a horse.
like Photoshop him opening a van door and there's just a horse inside. Like that's what this is. Ever since Dakota Iron Eyes news broke, however, they have not been seen or heard from since. They are literally on the run. Him and Dakota Iron Eyes.
They're on the run together.
The 12-year-old, the other girl, the one from when he was
Crazy.
The other girl that he met when
Crazy.
she was 12.
Healthy, super healthy dynamic.
There's
I'm
a
loving it.
pattern
Mm-hmm.
of 12-year-olds.
I also never saw this part. It says on March 4th, 2022, asking for, so that was just a couple months ago, at a premiere for something called Asking For It. The revenge film tackles sexual assault and co-stars Miller and Vanessa Hudgens, Kiersey Clemens, and Alexandra Shipp. On April 20th, director Emma O'Rourke allegedly punches trans comedian Grace Freud
You
in
heard
the
that
face.
right.
Wait.
You did hear that right.
Sorry, you went. Someone was like, you know who we should have a movie about sexual assault? Ezra Miller. He
Yes.
sounds like a great guy to have in a movie about assault.
They don't
Do you
care.
know it'd be a really good idea to put him in it?
Yep.
Are you kidding me? Like, who is making these choices?
So it's absolutely bonkers, and it just keeps
I
getting
mean,
worse.
I do remember when he was a bit of like a media darling for a while before people
how
realized how
long?
insane he was.
I feel like he was a media. I mean, you're better at this than I am, but like, he was a media darling for like what, 10 weeks, and then they're like, oh, as it turns out, he's crazy.
No, like girls simped for him so hard for a long time before.
It lists
at
him
least
as indie darling from
before
2011
and
to
even-
2015.
And even during like
Was I not
the time
alive?
after he chokeslammed that woman, I still saw that he had stands.
Was he? What was he doing? Like, it stands from what? He was in that. He was the.
Perks of Being a Wallflower. Was his,
Yeah, that's
like,
a big one for
Yeah,
him.
I've seen that too, but that was like, what? When did that come out?
2011 or something.
2011, and then he did nothing, and people were still like, "But do you remember that one movie and that time he was in Royal Pains?"
Yep, that's basically it. Hey,
What?
that Royal Pit? No, it's
Well,
not.
also he has eyeliner and fluffy hair,
That's
In
true.
a band.
And they them pronouns.
Wow.
So who
and a
am I?
band.
and he has a band.
Oh, which Mary is a little bit of a fan of. I've heard.
He's
I
good,
mean, I don't hate it.
The music was
he's good looking and he has the right politics. That's why he can get away with it.
That's
it.
he doesn't have any politics. He's like
A
barely
self-
even
He's not
communicating.
coherent.
Like he's not even here.
It's like he's almost doing
Thus, he belongs to the right tribe.
politics. This is crazy. So okay, so he and
Oh, this, by the way, I forgot. The 12-year-old child is also non-binary. So this is another example
Cool.
of like
I wonder
he's-
why.
he's preying on people, like
No,
Based
no
on identity.
way. This guy who's super into this weird advocacy, who hangs out with children, is weird.
He's-
and
he's-
preying on
They're
them.
not even teenagers.
No, he doesn't. That's too old for him. I don't know
Oh,
how. I don't know
my
how
God,
Dakota's staying
dude.
around, because Dakota's an adult now, right?
Yep, she's 18 now.
how does this end? How do you end this?
Does it ever?
It doesn't end well. There's no way this ends well.
Well, I just feel like what's gonna happen next.
I'm telling you, the movie, like I'm literally like
They've
in
got
my
to
own
drop it.
in my own brain, I see this as like a grand finale of like the movie coming out, and everyone just being like, why is he still like,
Yeah.
why is he still not in handcuffs, or at the very least, why is this getting made? Why is he being allowed to make this movie with all of this stuff coming out? And it's like, I look up these articles and there's people talking about it, but not, if this was anybody else, it would be so much more of an uproar.
And I don't understand it because he never even had that much of a fan base before. It's just like keeping up the narrative that like someone like this can, be
Thank you.
well adjusted and marketable, and he's not. He's clearly failing at that. And when the Tokata stuff came out, I was like, okay, it's time to drop it now.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's-
That was the
This is
straw
it.
that broke the camel's back. But that wasn't it either.
That was like a
this
week
is
ago.
the straw that broke the straw that broke the straw that
that broke that camel's back.
Yeah, like
when we did that first story, that broke me, and I was like, that first episode, I'm like, it's time
I
to
thought
just.
that was like, okay, this is it. They're
Yeah.
gonna drop him.
I was like, this is the story that
Nope.
that
Why
breaks
don't they care?
the $200 million films back.
But
Uh,
no, like let's cyberbully Lizzo
But they're-
or something.
but
Like
so-
what is happening right now?
And he and this 18-year-old are like on the run, or like no one.
I
knows
mean,
where they
it's not
are?
exactly on the
Or
run.
they're just hanging
They
out
just
in
can't.
Vermont trying to see if this other kid will come.
They
over.
haven't served.
I'm not. I like that sounds gross. In the
No, I
comics, but,
know,
like,
I
That's
know.
exactly what I
Sorry.
think is happening.
I mean,
was
they are
just-
looking for him, and he is
Who
not found.
like law enforcement is looking for him?
Yeah, to serve the
right,
serve
they're
the
trying to
protective
serve the
orders.
paper.
In the famous words of our beanie hero, most parents don't care about their kids. Like,
Yeah, these being
Crazy.
perfect
if
examples
ever
of
an
that.
example. Oh my god. Sorry.
So I was looking. I was curious as to what his parents did for a living. I remember somebody saying that his dad was like a film exec, and I thought Robert S. Miller was senior vice president and managing director of Hyperion Books, and later became a publisher at Workman Publishing. So I mean, there's at the very least entertainment and publishing media influence there in the family, and I just don't know how this ends anyway but bad. I do not.
There isn't like it's all weird and bad.
Like I'm sick of talking about it, but at the same time,
I mean, I'm sick of talking about it, but I wish that like anyone else would, because I get that we're like finding more information about this all the time, and there are some news, like the news is covering it, but then like more than that, we're talking about like the Kardashians and Lizzo and like, I don't know, Khloe Kardashian's BBL. Like, I don't understand why no one cares about this and why we're like, it's almost like we're just as crazy as him because we're finding like stupid things to fixate on that have nothing to do with the reality of the situation.
In the studio, like I guess I'm shocked. Like I don't know what the studio should say, but I'm just like
They don't need to say anything. They just need to not employ this man anymore.
But I'm saying, like, if they're not going to do that, and they're literally just anytime now somebody gets in trouble, and these people have to make their stupid comments about like I apologize for this. He's not apologizing.
I hate it because
the studio's not apologizing. Nobody's apologizing.
Why do you need to say something when all anyone is asking is that you actually do something?
Yeah.
It's all about what are we going to say and not what are we going to do to protect a child.
It just proves what corporations are actually scared of. You know, this is, you know...
They're more terrified of him than they are of the allegations against him.
They're more terrified of him because of the context, like he's shrouded himself with as a layer of protection, which is my theory. You know, but who cares? He said, you know, he's working it out in therapy, guys. It's been like 27 years. And like,
him and Amber Heard, they're hanging out.
Yeah.
I'm past it, man. At this point, the story is so ridiculous that it feels like, I wouldn't be surprised if like the Daily Beast was like, psych, we made all that up. And it'd be like, well, joke's on you. All the other stuff was so ridiculous. It just seemed like truth to me.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's like, you just don't know like where this is going to go. Right. Like it feels like he is like, when was the stuff with this other unnamed kid? They refer to it like it was this year. And so like over the past couple of years, he's become more and more and more erratic.
Yep.
I mean, just looking at like a story about what's her name? Takata?
Yeah, Takata Iron Eyes.
She dropped out of the school she was going to in December 2021 to go live with him. So like this pattern of behavior is happening in real time. I think we're used to talking about these stories like allegations that come out Me Too style.
Resurface.
Like years later. 17 years ago when I was a child actor on this set, this person behaved inappropriately with me. But I feel like we're watching it
But this person's actively endangering children like
now. And
now.
We're watching it live and there's like nothing we can do, but we all know it's wrong. And it is weird that this studio is like,
15 years from now, somebody will be doing a podcast talking about this, saying, why didn't anybody give a crap?
Why is it almost like given more gravity when something resurfaces than when we're talking about something in real time?
Yeah.
Because the deed has been done and they want broken people.
I feel
like that's how I feel about this world now. Like everyone just wants to hurt equally. Everyone just like, you know, misery loves company, and everyone just wants everyone to be miserable. This guy is a monster, you know, and if you know and you're facilitating him, you are a monster as well. Point blank.
A representative for Miller could not be immediately reached for comment, most likely
no
because
way.
they're taking
Also
a bunch
on
of
the
Prozac
run.
and are just like, what? Like,
Well,
imagine
also, like-
that job.
Well-
Imagine being Miller's like public relations dude.
But also, like, don't you think the police immediately contacted them and was like, you have to tell us where they are? So, like, this public relations person can't put out a statement and acknowledge they have been in contact with Miller Miller without becoming a problem in this investigation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
that's crazy to me.
Makes me
Which
feel.
also means that he's putting everyone he works with, like, in jeopardy. Like, it is crazy to me that, like, this is someone we're watching operate live, and it's just supposed to be like, oh, well, he was like that fun guy in that one movie. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Super chats, just because it's.
Let's go. Javi J said, first rule of Final Fantasy, love no one. Is that true?
Not really.
You just get hurt, fall in love, and they die in the second part.
I mean, usually, like by the end, you like figure it out. But
Waffle Sensei said that this child's parents sound like Priscilla's parents, allowing deeply disgusting and inappropriate behavior, hoping for their child to get famous.
yeah,
We're talking about Priscilla Presley the other day,
Yeah.
and it's strange when you juxtapose the extremely like that these parents are extremely interested in their child's life, but in a negative way where they're trying to manipulate it for like financial security or like notoriety. Unavailable ID name said Whoopi
Thank
Goldberg
you.
defended Roman Polanski and said it wasn't I don't know if I want to say that. The world is sick.
Yep. There's also the pictures of her with like Harvey Weinstein being buddy, and then anytime she complains, I'm like, yeah, but yeah.
Meryl Streep is the big one for Harvey Weinstein. She's like a huge admirer.
Yep.
Good times.
Javi J said
Who?
the depravity of Hollywood
Meryl
is
Streep?
just now having a light shown upon it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I just think that one of the reasons like Hollywood and a lot of like mainstream celebrities hate internet culture so much and hates not like YouTubers and stuff like that is not just because of like we talked about Jennifer Aniston and fame being kind of like weighed down by like I don't know.
She was saying the actor's job is being diluted because
thank
of
you.
how easy it is to get attention.
But I think one of the reasons they also hate it is because the democratization of the information makes it a lot easier for their misdeeds to be spread more widely, when before one powerful executive, all he needs to do is call one powerful producer at a news or at like a news station and kill the story. They cannot do that with the internet, and I think they hate that.
It's a big club and you're not in it.
And we are definitely all not.
Don't want to be in it.
No.
Yeah,
no.
I think
I
we
think
need
you
to do
wanted to
away
be
with
in
the
it for a second,
pretense
but-
that anyone wants to be in it.
No, keep me out.
None for me.
All right, so let's move on and let us go to Podluck. Dane, theme song?
Potluck, several topics.
Do you sing a Podluck theme song every time you're on?
And no, I think this
I
is
say, have I been missing this?
I guess we're just gonna like pin this on you now.
It's Dane's job now.
cool.
All right, so it says Rebel Wilson's outing sparks Australian media reckoning, and I think what this is kind of it's a hilarious to me because I'm like, now you guys care about journalistic integrity now, really? Of all the times and everything that's gone on in the last few years, and you guys are just starting to pay attention now because it's affecting somebody that you are actually fans of.
This is like the dumbest possible tipping point
I know.
for people to be like, it's time for a media reckoning because Rebel Wilson had to make an Instagram post with her new girlfriend. Like, okay.
So it says, when Australian actress and comedian Rebel Wilson revealed on Instagram she had found love with a woman, people celebrated her decision to come out. They believed on her own terms. But in a gossip column published by the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper the next day, its writer disclosed he'd known about the news and given the actress 27 hours to respond before publishing. Veteran gossip columnist Andrew Hornery grumbled that Wilson had opted to gazump his story by sharing the news herself.
What is that word?
Must be an Australian thing. I have no idea. That's not a term. This is a term. Okay, so it says his own admission of his attempt to report Wilson's deeply personal news sparked immediate outrage globally. For LGBTQ campaigners, I almost said complainers, that would have been bad. It was a devastating turn. A good news story, a celebrity role model coming out, had been marred by a familiar old threat. Coming out is an intensely personal journey and one still fraught for many. Nikki Bath, chief executive of LGBTIQ Plus Health Australia, said that at the Q Life hotline, 1 in 10 calls received are about the struggles with coming out. When we see someone publicly having to experience an experience of being forcibly outed in 2022, I think it throws up a lot in the air about where we are as a society with regards to people's privacy and people's own choices around what happens in their lives. Well, I would love for that same thing. I don't buy that if some journalist who was anti any cause that somebody like this likes, whatever that is, whether it's the environment, something that this person, what's this person's name again? Nikki Bath. I don't buy that if Nikki Bath cares a lot about the environment and some anti-climate change person comes out and writes an article about her and then gets doxxed. I don't think for a second that she cares if that journalist doxes somebody that she doesn't like. I think that it's team sports and tribalism all together. Once it'll never go away. And I don't believe that there's any actual integrity behind what they're saying here. I think it's just my team suffered a defeat right now, and that's a problem. So now we need to change everything.
With the Rebel Wilson situation, I thought it was just a strange reaction that people were saying, like, this is a step back for the LGBT community or, like, our cause or whatever. When, like, the journalist in question had nothing against that aspect of the story. He just wanted the exclusive story.
And I wasn't necessarily a fan of the way that he...
Sure, he went about it in a sleazy way, but it had nothing to do with the social issue.
I wasn't a fan of his dismissiveness about, like, he's like, well, it's 2022 coming out. It's not a big deal anymore. I wasn't a fan of him telling her what's a big deal and what isn't.
Yeah, that's not his place. I do think that, like, Mary's totally right. This guy is just, like, He wanted this
The
to break this big.
Yeah,
and it
he's
be
a
an
journalist.
international
That's
story.
what he wanted. Can we like address it for what it is?
But they're making it about
Are they
social
saying
issues.
Right.
that like it's 2022, so you should know better than outing someone who's gay?
And
I
they
don't-
talk about, okay, so they talk about this. It says, in this case, I think Australian media has to do some internal analysis on how it conducts itself, Ms. Bath said. Newsrooms need to do
Every
some
single other reporter is like, we weren't gonna do this.
Newsrooms need to do some education around the impact of their reporting. You don't say. Even in 2022 in Australia, it is still dangerous for people to reveal their non-normative sexual or gender preferences. Footballer Josh Cavallo, who came out last year, is reported receiving death threats and vitriol since going public. Yes, that happened. Like, everybody gets death threats nowadays. It seems like that's the world we live in now. It's the problem with being on the internet. Ms. Bath noted this latest incident comes at some parts of Australian media continue to entertain irresponsible reporting on gay and trans issues. That's the key right there. They only care about irresponsible reporting on those issues. They don't care about irresponsible reporting on anything else.
And they set the terms for what is considered irresponsible reporting, right?
Exactly. So it says the recent general...
Because in some ways, sorry, this is just occurring to me. Like if a name a famous actress, if Vanessa Hudgens was dating other hunky male actor, whatever, and we
Zac
didn't know.
Efron.
Or Bill Hader and Rachel, or who's
I
the
know
girl from
her.
Pitch Perfect?
Oh, Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. Apparently they're dating. That's what I've
Okay.
heard. And someone was like, Gossip Mag, Anna Kendrick and what's his face are dating. Like, I get that Rebel Wilson is gay, but could we argue, devil's advocate here, that by outing Rebel Wilson as if they were just outing any other heterosexual couple, they're actually doing something totally normal. They've actually normalized gay relationships in the
Yeah,
media.
you're
Just like as a thought experiment here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do see
Like,
what your
we're
point
actually
is there.
asking for
It can
more
happen to you.
privacy for gay actresses.
Then
famous
give more
people.
privacy to all
And I
celebrities
guess it's
in their
because
relationships.
she's not out, but also like, haven't we heard that we're in post-out culture? Like, you don't need to come out because it's so normal that like it could be any. You know what I'm
We
saying?
are post out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So in that way, like they're asking for something. They're asking to be treated differently. They're not asking for
Right.
equitable treatment.
It says the recent general election saw a disproportionate focus on often inaccurate claims about trans people in sport. In a debate drummed up by the previous conservative government, this has a harmful impact on young trans people, advocates said. They never tell you what is exactly harmful. They just tell you it's harmful. In the case of Rebel Wilson's outing, the newspaper has now issued 3 statements regarding in responding to the public anger. In his mea culpa on Monday, Hornery said that as a gay man, he was well aware of how deep... What?
He's gay.
I
See,
didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's just outing. Like, he's like doxing us, not doxing, but he's like, you know, the way gossip columnists
Yeah.
do, like being like, this is the scoop.
There
This
was not a
person is dating
single
this one.
thought put into I'm gonna like regress the culture
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And people are just reading into it too far and also not addressing the actual issue.
Like, actually, what you're telling us is we have not progressed to the point where, like, this is considered outing as opposed to just revealing a celebrity couple that was keeping their relationship.
So it
separate.
says, as a gay man, he was well aware of how deeply discrimination hurts. The last thing I would ever want to do is inflict that pain on someone else. He was literally just doing his job and not thinking of it the way that they were.
But I
thinking
guess
of
she
it.
and
never-
yes, his job is morally reprehensible.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a different story.
But this
that's a
says
different subject.
so it says this is in turn where did I say this is in turn raised questions as to why he approached Wilson in the way he did, saying that he had several sources and enough detail to publish. Critics say that reflected a journalistic ego and abusive power encouraged in certain newsroom cultures, all newsroom cultures.
Hey, whoa.
Hey.
Let me bring Chris Carr into this.
Okay, I want to go down to this part here about media ethics. So it says, to media ethics experts, however, it appeared that the black and white of the case, this is a black and white case of unethical journalism practice. This is a story that should not have seen the light of day, said Dr. Sasha Molotores. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. That's a hard one. A law and ethics academic at the University of Technology, Sydney, who was a senior journalist at the Herald for nearly 2 decades. He characterized Mr. Shields' editorial deference as disingenuous. Hornery's email to Wilson showed clear intention to publish, he said. Tim Dwyer, a media ethics professor at the University of Sydney, also described Shields' defense as weak for such a Wild West privacy intrusion. He might call it a process, but in fact, it's an ethical decision that is not up for other people to make. In this case, they hold highly responsible positions. The experts pointed out that the editorial misjudgments in a culture which prioritizes scoops over ethical standards can flourish in an industry which remains largely self-regulated. These are all very true.
Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah. They also noted that there are 14 sets of standards that apply to journalists, but his own research shows few journalists know these codes comprehensively. When pressed, most said they relied on their own morals in guiding their work.
Hey, Brett. Source?
Exactly.
Wait, isn't that a good thing that it's self-regulating? At least the expectation that it be self-regulating.
Well, they want to punish you. They want to punish you if you do something they don't like. In this
what
case,
are you ashamed of?
Yeah.
Like, what are you like? What's the big deal?
Okay, so it says, in this case, experts said that main ethical principle clearly breached was that of privacy, that individuals are entitled to privacy unless newsrooms deem disclosure would serve the public interest. Who decides what is the public interest? One could argue, Mr. Hornery could make the argument that, look, young gay women or men need positive examples of successful people who are proud to come out and revealing this information would help them in being more prideful of who they are and be willing to come out. He could make that argument. Is it a good one? No. But that's his moral judgment. When it's that ambiguous, who's to say what that is?
Well, and I think part of it is they're having this standard that we actually warp when we talk about like gossip columns, right?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone actually need to know anything about celebrities? Like, is it in public
also,
interest? Like,
if it's a rumor, you don't need to cite your sources on it.
He's saying it's not a rumor that he knew for sure. So, like, it's a little bit different than, like, if you were reporting on a rumor. But, like, what I would say is, like, just to contrast, like, the Ezra Miller stuff that's being reported is it's important. It's in the public interest. He was, like...
Because if you have a 12-year-old, you need to know. Whether, if Ezra Miller is literally creeping up the street, you need to know whether they're there.
He targets, it seems like, specifically teens that are interested in activism and who may or may not think that they are transgender, right? So with this case, like, it does not matter to me in the world if Taylor Swift is married or Rebel Wilson is dating a girl or Tom Cruise is adopting a baby from Siberia. You know what I mean? Like, none of that's... No, he's not. Wow. I made the last one up.
Okay.
That's a rumor. But, like, none of that actually matters in public interest. Like, that is not the same thing. And you would have to reevaluate all gossip columns to meet the standards. Like, I think this is a weird thing to apply when they clearly never apply it to this type of journalism anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's also interesting because it's kind of an outcome of like a culture that's become all gossip and no actual, like, there's no line anymore between what is actual journalism and what is gossip journalism. Like, the joke I would always make is, like, if you took any of the headlines from the last 4 years and just slapped like a Globe or National Enquirer logo on it, it wouldn't look any different than something you'd read.
Well,
in most
and
of
there
those
were
magazines.
times that, like, I think it was the National Enquirer was like getting stuff right before other people, but people didn't want to publish it because they were like,
Enquirer.
this is super salacious. What are you talking about? Like, I think it was like, I don't remember, some politician who had an affair and it became like a big deal. Enquirer published it first. Like,
Eric Swalwell,
maybe. I can't remember who it was.
So this is that doctor again. Says, personally, I've worked with editors and journalists who are extremely sensitive and aware, and others who had as much empathy as a cricket bat, he said. But
What?
newsrooms need to
So
actually newsrooms need to actually spend more time thinking about discussing cultivating ethical practice. The problem is that if they're to apply this to anything else, they're going to have their own bias. And it's never going to be fairly applied
both
across the
entertainers and the people who report on entertainers are bad people.
That makes us bad people.
They're like like journalists, I mean, are like morally not, like, they're not our moral examples in society. I don't think we should look to journalists as like our moral leaders or like ethical role models.
Unless they're Hannah Claire, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying...
Well, obviously, you wouldn't represent all journalists. I'm just saying,
I think, like... Well, but I don't think that they're saying they have to be role models. I think that we, just the same way we'd hold a medical expert to a certain level of ethical standards. Like, we want everyone in our world to operate from an ethical perspective.
But when it's a medical professional, that's about people's lives. And
But like lots of defamation cases get filed against the New York Times because the things that they print have an impact on people's lives.
okay,
Like all I'm saying
I mean
is
life
that
or death.
we want people to live by ethical standards, but we as a society have no understanding of what our general shared ethical practices are anymore. And it's going to take like a whole, in my opinion, like a cultural renaissance for us to mediate like what our values are as a society right now, because they have been so distorted that we don't even know if we're talking about the same thing.
That's something we come back to pretty regularly, is that like we're just cultural.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep saying that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, sounding the death knell of society, and I'm some kind of like
The end of days
like,
is coming.
Bible thumper.
Yeah.
But like, it's true, and it keeps coming up in pop culture.
Yep. So it says right here, it says, how do we depict LGBTQIA? How do we depict various groups in our society in a way that doesn't reinforce inequities and doesn't make people more vulnerable and cause harm? What is harm? What is vulnerable? What are those inequities exactly? Otherwise, it's just platitudes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm over it. It's not good enough for journalists to say they're simply guided by their personal moral compass. So what are they saying? Do they want...
Another thing is like, why does everyone have a harm-based paradigm for like what's ethical or not?
In what is like in like by moral compass, like, so what are they saying? Do they want government interaction? Like they want them to punish these people
Probably.
for having the wrong a moral compass that isn't up to whatever that random person's standard is? It's
Like
not
in the
it's
name
not enforceable.
of journalism ethics, we're going to heavily censor journalists.
Basically, that's what they're
That's
saying.
not the
yeah.
answer.
Yep. All right.
I like my theory that this is actually a fair thing to do because that you're treating her the way you would have treated all heterosexual celebrity couples,
We would
which is dox their secrets for your personal gain.
so that your magazine can make more money.
Yeah.
Apparently. Yep.
Let's not pretend this is more than what it is.
Nope.
He just wants to have the article that goes viral.
By the
Yeah.
way, I was wrong. Vince McMahon did step down from WWE.
Bro.
I
Which
thought
is a stupid decision.
it was very dumb. He paid off. He paid off a lady for.
Oh. Take it back.
Imagine
Sorry.
paying someone $3 million to shut up,
And
and,
then they come back.
They don't
Yeah.
shut up.
Well,
Do
they
they
were.
have to give
how
it back
dumb
then?
are you?
Do they have to give it back then if you like sign an agreement?
Well, she did breach their
'Cause-
NDA. She told
Yeah.
her friend, and then her friend is the
So
one
doesn't-
that
can't he sue her for a bunch of money or at least get that 2.5 that she hasn't spent much?
Yeah.
right. But then is that even worth the spectacle at that point?
Yeah.
He's voluntarily stepping down from his duties as CEO and chairman of WWE amid an investigation into alleged misconduct by the billionaire, and his daughter Stephanie McMahon has been appointed interim CEO and interim chairwoman.
Damn.
WWE and his board of directors, which Vince is,
Is
a
this
member of.
nepotism or is this scandal? Like that she's getting.
She's been a
promotion?
member of the company for like 25 years. She's
I'm just kidding.
so it says WD and its board of directors take allegations of misconduct very seriously. The statement read, "The independent directors of the board engage independent legal counsel to assist them with the independent review."
How many times can you use the word independent?
Yes.
Independent.
The
It's
investigation
independent.
into Vince stems from a claim that he allegedly agreed to pay a former employee $3 million over 5 years after the two had an affair. The woman alleges that Vince paid her $1 million in advance and was expected to dish out the remaining $2 and hush money over 5 years. The Wall Street Journal reported the preliminary investigation, there it is again, into Vince revealed Vince made a payment to the ex-employee using personal funds. So I'm only bringing it up because I was surprised that he actually stepped away. He's still going to be involved in the company, like the creative process and in all the shows. He's just not chairperson or chairman right now. So also, I don't know if Dane cares about this. There is a Game of Thrones Jon Snow sequel in development at HBO.
Well, like typical to like today's society, the worst character would get the show.
Not a fan of Jon Snow?
Jon Snow's like, I'm a good guy, and I do good things. I'm short and handsome, like
Who would you want to get their own spin-off sequel?
Arya,
Which one's that?
the little Batman girl who rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was an article recently where like that actress, that Maisie Williams that plays her
Yeah.
or whatever, she's like, I can't believe my character was straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe
my
she
thing,
wasn't.
my thing was when she had to do like a sex scene with like an older male
It was
cast member,
creepy.
and she's like, "It's weird because I grew up on the set. Now everyone's seen me naked." I was like, "That is terrifying and
Yeah,
horrifying."
it's very disturbing.
Oh my god, that
That was like an interview she did.
Ew.
That's like what happened.
Wait, because she's like
well, she
under
started doing the
I
show
have
when
nothing
she was
but
like,
contempt for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
she was like
It's good.
12
It
when she
was
started
good.
doing the show,
I didn't
and
know
then
that.
she was like at one point in the final seasons. I didn't even watch it, and I know this.
They're like, she's finally an adult. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
finally
yeah.
that's how
abuse
it
her.
felt. Reading
That's
about-
freaking
like, she's
creepy.
describing this, and I was like, "This is terrifying." Do not
I
send
guess
your kids to
the
Hollywood.
story about Ezra Miller is so unremarkable to them because everyone in Hollywood
Yeah.
is Ezra Miller.
They're like, of course, they're all creeps and pedophiles. So it is. What
They're
it
all
is.
like, wait, this is weird.
All right, and we're going to finish with this one, Mary.
I might have to disavow.
You don't want to.
Anna Delvey, I supported you, but this is a bridge too far.
Okay, so it says scammer Anna Delvey to sell signed prison panties as part of NFT project.
Scammer or entrepreneur? Like, who even knows?
You
And also,
decide.
like, I thought the point of NFTs is that they're not real.
Yeah.
So why are you're just selling your underwear on eBay and being like, it's an NFT.
No, she's selling an image of her
an
underwear.
Yeah.
image of her signed
Bro.
underwear.
But then
What's
she
the-
could later sell the
But you
actual
could sign
underwear.
the image and not the underwear. It's just like,
But
what is
now,
happening right
now?
now?
Can't she then hold on to the underwear
What?
and sell it later? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
when
she
it's
can
worth
do-
even more.
is
Incredible.
he still going to be an
She's-
NFT?
No, then she'll sell the real product, right? So we'll have the
She-
NFT economy, and then we'll have the
One
like,
will go on OpenSea and one will go on eBay. Those are two different things.
Ugh.
Socialite Anna Delvey announced a new NFT project this week, offering up a chance to meet her plus sketches and personal items from her time in detention. We speculatively joked these items might include an old comb or an autographed shiv, but now we're told that it's a bit more naughty. Signed prison panties.
Is
God.
this the girl they talked about in Red Scare?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
A rep originally
You're now making the connection.
A rep originally passed a message from us to Delvey on Thursday morning. My NFT team have a wide array of items that we've been accumulating for a while. It ranges from my jail pens and stationery that I customized by hand. I'm literally picturing her like
She's just
carving into
doodling
it.
on
Yeah,
it, yeah.
passing the time
Well,
away in
she's
solitary.
been like releasing sketch art from prison, so
So it says
makes sense.
You know what's hilarious? Sorry to interrupt. So many all the companies that laughed at crypto for some reason are like jumping on the NFT bandwagon, and it's like
It's suspicious.
I have never. By the way, Square Enix, the company that made the game that we were talking about, they were literally like downloadable content now is going to be through NFTs. This is the direction we're going, and we're very confident about it.
Twitter's doing it. A lot of companies are doing it.
But then they got a absolute like people lost their S word on the internet, and then they were like, "We take it back."
Yeah,
That was bad.
That's my favorite. Is like Twitter just randomly hates NFTs. They don't know why. They just know that they do.
That's good.
Like
Your
they're-
intuition is good enough.
They're-
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
stupid.
I
no,
approve.
but they're like they hate NFTs and they hate crypto because they're like the environment and they're like, but they don't know why it's bad for the environment. They just know they're like all the servers and it takes up all the time. Dedicated servers. How
Buzzwords.
Many, how many gigs of
how much
SEO.
dedicated wham?
yeah.
Boa Sova.
So it says it ranges from my jail pens and stationery that I customized by hand to my signed white cotton jail T-shirts and panties. We spoke with Delvey, currently in Orange County Correctional Facility, by phone. She explained that she's just giving the people what they want. People have been asking for all kinds of stuff, she told Page 6. All kinds of requests of every nature, she added.
She's had so many marriage proposals.
I don't want to force my panties on anyone.
Brett
but
also
if
screens her marriage proposal.
Yes, I do. She, imagine this quote. I don't want to force my panties on anyone, but if they ask, new or used, signed, she would only say.
Manda fuego, señor.
That means used.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that means building intrigue so people will bid more for her NFT. Like this girl,
She's
she's a
kind
scammer,
of a
but she is
genius.
a business lady.
That's what I'm saying.
So
She's
she's not an ethical business lady.
She's
That's
a
why
cunning-
she's a scammer.
she's
I
a
was
cunning
listening to
businesswoman.
her interview with Paris Hilton, and it was like, you know, the shtick of like the real heiress interviews the fake heiress, and she was saying she's always been like super money driven because she's
No.
obsessed with like having freedom.
I think that's reasonable though.
That's
like,
a
that
lot-
makes a lot of sense.
That's like a lot of people. They're not chasing money. They're chasing like the freedom that comes with.
But with her,
having
it's like
money.
an excess, and then the power of like being conventionally attractive and having a cool accent.
So it says Bill Gates said this week that at its heart, NFTs have the anonymity through which they can avoid taxation, any sort of government rules. Well, you tell him, Bill.
All hail Bill
All-
Gates.
Apparently, we like Bill Gates for like
He's like,
3.5. Or is he
people
saying?
could
Or
make
is he
money.
saying it's a bad thing? He's
He's
saying
like,
it's a bad
I could
thing.
have. People could not pay taxes, and that's been my thing.
But yeah, Bill's like, hey, you're
Wait
stealing
a
my
minute.
you're stealing my gig here, people. You're
We've-
stealing my
We
gig.
should all need to be concerned about this.
Yes.
Bill Gates.
Like we've come to the story that leaves me speechless. Like truly.
This is it.
Like
What if this is Dane's future wife, though?
Maybe. I mean,
I ship it.
Like, you're a marketing genius. She's got the business savvy. You've
Whoa.
got some morals. She apparently does not. Like,
oh,
I'm really thinking this could be a thing.
Would that make them Dana or Danevy?
I'm liking Davey.
whatever you want, baby.
Okay.
Whatever she
Anna,
wants. I'm
may
sorry.
I pitch to you your
My
Lewis
darling
husband?
at
Could you
home.
take her name, Dane Delvey?
No,
No.
she doesn't have to take mine, but I'm not taking yours.
You both have the German blood.
She
Ooh.
looks
That's
like
dangerous.
She looks like a hyphenator. Like she would hyphenate her name.
Yeah,
Like a
sure.
hyphenator.
I don't understand. This is the obvious match in the world. Anna Delvey, let me know where you are. Let me introduce you to my friend Dane.
Perfect.
I like the.
Or as some know him,
well.
Dave.
And with that,
Yeah.
Dane, why don't you tell Anna Delvey where she can find you on social media?
You can find me at Dane Fun on Twitter.
You heard
My
him.
darling.
You heard him, Anna. Find him there. Hannah Claire, where can Anna Delvey find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and you can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you can find me, of course, on timcast.com. Click on the read tab.
On the read tab. Mary, where can Anna Delvey find you?
Anna Delvey, please find me on Instagram at Closer Kitty or WeChat at Closer Kitty. I
And
don't
if
know
she
if you
wanted-
can use that in prison.
And if she wanted to read your articles.
Yeah, and my articles on timcast.com, I always promote them on Instagram.
Perfect. Anna Delvey, I guess you can find me too. I'd prefer you don't, at least not with any of your NFT sales. But if you did want to, it's at Brett Dasovic on Instagram. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday on YouTube, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Pandora if you would prefer to listen to all of this ridiculousness. On social media, we are on Twitter, at popculture_show. That is now not up for debate. We cannot change it. We are on... No? Can we change it? Can we change it?
We will change it.
We will eventually.
Oh,
Yes.
it's like a whole thing.
We're going to change it. All right. But for now, it's at popculture_show on Twitter. We are on Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and we are on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.